Today I'm going to be reviewing the Emporia Pro. It's the second generation charger from Emporia, and if you follow State of Charge, you know that I was a big fan of their original product, and I included it in my best of chargers the past 2 years. It consistently scored one of the top scores on the ChargerRater, and overall I thought it was an extremely good value for what you get and the low cost. That combination put it to the top of my scoring for the past 2 years. But now they've come out with their next generation charger. This one costs a little bit more, but it also has some new features. And one feature in particular I'm very interested in looking into, and they call it the Power Smart feature. And that's intelligent load balancing. So it allows you to install this in your home, even if you have a electric service that necessarily wouldn't allow you to install a 48 amp charger, which this is, because it's going to intelligently monitor the power and it won't overdraw your home's electric capabilities. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later in the review, but first let's open up the box and see what comes inside. Okay, well, let's take a look what we have here. First off, let me remove this. Okay, so here is the new Emporia Pro. I like this sleek new look. I like it has these LED lights here across the front. It's got a 25-foot cable, nice thin cable too. I noticed this is really thin, much thinner than their original first generation cable. They did upgrade to a thinner cable in the past year, and it's probably the same cables. It's very similar to the Tesla wall connector cable. We'll measure it later, but I'm pretty sure it's either the same one or one that's almost identical to the Tesla wall connector. I did ask for this with the NEMA 1450 plug rather than having to hardwire it. So for this review, we'll be using it in the 40 amp output mode instead of the full 48 amps. It really doesn't make a difference for the review. And I notice here on the back, the mounting bracket is already attached to it. I guess, yeah, there's 2 screws on the bottom, it appears, that have to get removed in order to mount this on the wall. Then you slide the unit on it and attach the screws. We'll go over installation a little bit later. And we have the connector here. This is the new, this is the Volex connector. I think this is the same exact connector that was on the Evo Charge that I just reviewed a couple of weeks ago. Don't love this connector. It's kind of small. It has a plastic locking tab. It's not metal, this tab up here. So I'm not a huge fan of that. Here's the connector holster. If you remember, one of the things I really criticized Emporia for with their first generation charger was their connector holster. It kind of hung from the front of the unit, and you would hang the connector against the unit like this with the pins exposed to the elements up, which is a terrible way to have a connector holster. You always want these either facing down or locked inside some sort of a connector holster so you protect the pins. They communicated to me that they heard that loud and clear, and they changed it. They made this remote connector holster, which we'll take a look at later. We have 3 screws for the remote connector holster. There's 3 holes in the back of there that you mount this to the wall. And then we have the 5 screws and 5 drywall anchors here for the mounting bracket on the back of the unit. So that's all you need to know for the unit, plus that and the installation and owner's guide. But then we have this box here. And this is interesting because this is the Emporia's View Smart Home Energy Monitoring System. And you need this in order to use the intelligent power monitoring for the unit here. They call it the Power Smart system. But this is what allows you to install the charger in a house that maybe doesn't have the electrical capacity to have a regular 48 amp or 40 amp charger. Let's say you have 100 or 150 amp service. Most people can't install a 48 amp charger if they have 100 or 150 amp service because they don't have the excess capacity, and you could overdraw your circuit. They do your electrician does a load calculation. Most likely, if you have 100 or 150 amp service, they're going to say you can't install a 48 amp charger. But this thing here allows you to, because the Emporia View system will monitor the total current draw of your home, including the Emporia Pro charger. And if the total load overdraws the home's rated capacity, it will lower the charger's output temporarily so as not to overload the service panel. The Emporia Pro charger, paired with this View with PowerSmart system, allows you to install a charger and have a high-powered charger in your house, and saves you the money of having to do a full service upgrade, which could cost many thousands of dollars. This is the first charger I'm reviewing that has this type of capability, but there's others coming to the market now. So this is something that we're going to be focusing on here on State of Charge a lot in the future. Okay, so that's what comes in the box. The next thing we're going to do is take a look at the Emporia Pro's key features before I jump into how to install the unit. State of Charge is powered by Qmerit, North America's premier installer of electric vehicle charging equipment. After I've helped you decide which charger to buy, follow the link in the description of my videos and have Qmerit install it. And if you do follow that link, Qmerit will waive the $150 installation deposit. But this is an exclusive offer for State of Charge followers. So in order to get that offer, you must follow the link in the description of my videos. The Emporia Pro costs $599, but with that you get the Emporia View that allows you to do the dynamic load balancing. The dimensions are 11.5 inches by 8 inches by 3.1 inches. It's a 48 amp charger that can deliver up to 11.5 kilowatt. But if you get the plug-in version, as I have for this review, it will be limited to 40 amps, which is a 9.6 kilowatt draw. It has adjustable power from 12 amps up to the full 48 amps. It has a 25-foot long cable. Currently, it's only available with the J1772 connector, but Emporia has told me that they will have a NAX connector option in the fourth quarter of this year. It has a NEMA 4 enclosure, so it's good for outdoor installations. It's capable of dynamic load balancing when paired with the View. It's also capable of charging your electric vehicle exclusively from excess solar production at your house. It has an operating temperature of -22 degrees Fahrenheit to 122 degrees Fahrenheit. It is UL listed, so it's safety certified. It comes standard with a 3-year warranty, and the unit is made in India. Okay, so I have the connector holster as well as the mounting bracket on the wall. The mounting bracket comes attached to the back of the unit from the factory. To remove it, you have to take off 2 screws that are on the bottom of the bracket that secure it to the bottom of the unit. If you order this with the NEMA 1450 plug, as I have, you don't have to open up the unit. You just plug it into your outlet and installation is mostly done. But if you wanted to hardwire the unit, we're going to talk a little bit about that now. You need to open it up. So after you remove this mounting bracket, then you have to remove the outer cover. And that gets removed by 2 screws on the bottom of the cover. After you remove the outer cover, there's an inner cover that actually seals the unit and provides its weatherproof rating. And that has 10 screws around the perimeter of it that you need a number 3 Allen key to remove. Now, once you remove those screws, you have to be careful because there is a ribbon cable that is connected inside, and that provides power to the LED lights on the front of the unit. So you have to carefully unplug that from inside the unit and then take the cover off. So now that it's off, the back of the unit has 2 grooves here on the top. You kind of hang them into the top of the mounting bracket like this. And once they're in, you reattach the 2 screws on the bottom, and that'll secure the unit to the bracket. I'm not going to do that right now because we're just going to take a look on the inside. You'll notice this is where the NEMA 1450 plug is. If you were going to hardwire the unit, and if you ordered it as a hardwire unit, it wouldn't have this plug. It would just have a hole here. And this is where you bring your power through. But if you don't want exterior conduit, you can bring your power in right through the back here. You could see there's a little circle that you would cut through and bring the wires in through the back, and then you just use a plug on the bottom here. Then it's a nice clean installation. You don't see any exterior conduit on the wall. I like when we bring the power in through the back of the chargers rather than have exterior conduit. It just looks a little bit better. And this would be where you land the 3 wires here, just where the NEMA 1450 plug wires go. You'll note here, across here, there's a sticker that says, do not torque terminal screws over 1.2 Newton meter, which is 10.6 inch-pound. That's to make sure that you don't over torque the screws when you're landing your wires. Now, you should have a licensed qualified electrician do this, have them pull a permit, have it be inspected. I know it's going to cost you a little bit more money, but it's the right thing to do. And if you know it's done correctly by a professional, inspected and all that, you won't have any problems in the future, which we see from time to time with people having inferior installations done. There's a lot of power passing through this unit, and you don't want to have an issue with that when you're charging your EV, particularly many people charge at night when they're sleeping. You don't want to have some sort of electrical problem when you're sleeping. You know, it's not worth saving a few $100s. Have it done right. Okay, so that's pretty much it. And then you'd put the outer cover on and the plastic front cover, and you're done. Now, one thing I will note is this is an adjustable unit power-wise, but you can't do it from inside the unit. Many of these units have an internal dip switch to set a hard limit on how much power they can deliver. I like when the units have that. For instance, this has a NEMA 1450 plug, so I shouldn't be delivering more than 40 amps from this unit. The way that Emporia has the adjustable power is you do it all through the app. And somebody could make a mistake, or you could have some sort of an issue. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. I like when you could set a hard limit inside the unit, then no matter what you do with the app, it won't exceed that limit. So this doesn't have that ability. You have to adjust the power through the app. Okay, next up, let's start the testing procedures. And for that, first we'll do our hot weather testing, where I bake the unit for a couple of hours with a heat lamp, and then I make sure that it delivers the full amount of power to one of my electric vehicles. Okay, it's extreme heat test time. I've had this heat lamp on the Emporia Pro for 2 hours now, maintaining a surface temperature of right around 120 degrees. So let's check that out. 122.5 degrees Fahrenheit. We do this test to simulate if the charger was installed outside in an area that has extreme heat, like say Arizona, Texas, some of the southern states that get really hot in the summer. The heat's baking on the unit all day. Then you plug it in. I want to make sure that it will still deliver full power. It won't shut off. We've seen in the past some chargers overheat and they either shut off or derate. So now that this is nice and hot for 2 solid hours at 120 degrees, I'm going to plug in my electric vehicle. Actually, this week, it's not one of my electric vehicles. I have a Porsche Macan here on loan from Porsche for reviewing this week. So I'm going to use the Porsche as the donor car to charge. I want to make sure that the Emporia Pro delivers the full 40 amps to the vehicle for 2 hours while I leave the heat lamp on it. So I'm going to plug in the Macan now and check back in 2 hours to make sure that it delivered the full amount of power for 2 continuous hours. She's charging. Okay, back after not only 2 hours, but 3 hours. And I've been monitoring the Macan's charge rate the whole 3 hours, and it's been pulling the full 40 amps the whole time, charging it right around 9.3 kilowatts. So that's going to be a pass for the extreme heat test for the Emporia Pro. Let's see how hot it is now, because these units always heat up while they're charging. 166.5 degrees is the surface temperature of the unit now, and that's because while the heat lamp was maintaining 120 degrees, since the energy's been passing through it, the unit itself heats up naturally. So between the heat lamp and the power going through it, that energy causing the temperature to rise, it's at 166 degrees now. It's charging like a champ, so the Emporia Pro passes our extreme heat test. Next up is the automatic restart test. With the automatic restart test, I have the charger actively charging an electric vehicle, and I kill power to the circuit to simulate a power outage. Then I restore the power. What I want to see is the charger re-engage the electric vehicle and continue charging. We've noticed that some chargers, for some reason, remain in a fault state and they don't start charging the electric vehicle again. And that's problematic if it's in the middle of the night, let's say, and your car's charging. You get a temporary power outage. It could even just be for a second or two, just a blip. The charger doesn't start charging the car again, so you wake up in the morning and your electric vehicle isn't charged. I have the Porsche Macan charging with the Emporia Pro here. I've got a camera on it. You can see the green light is blinking, so it's actively charging. I'm going to kill power to the circuit now. Wait a minute, turn power back on, and we'll make sure that the Macan begins charging again. Okay, I'm back. All right, well, I see it's already started charging the Macan again. The green light is blinking on the power button, so the vehicle is charging. The Emporia Pro passes the automatic restart test. It's time for our cold weather testing. I have the Emporia Pro in this deep freezer here for about 30 hours. This is a real deep freezer, gets way below freezing, down to around 15 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit. And the unit's been in here freezing for more than a day. We're now going to test its cable pliability. We're going to do a connector drop test and also the startup, cold weather startup test to make sure the unit performs well at low temperature. First, let's take a look at how cold it is in here. Negative 12 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's good and cold. Let's take the unit out now. Oof, bit of a bear. Immediately starts to frost up. I have the cable looped in these small loops, and now we're going to see how well I can stretch it out. You can see the whole frost already starting to form on it. Okay, let's get this guy up on the wall and plug her in. Okay, looks like she's starting up okay. Now let's see how well the cable goes. That's really good. I thought this cable was going to perform well because it's so thin. You can see how well this thing flops here. This is really an excellent performing cable. This is what you want to see. Sometimes the cable remains so frozen that it stands up straight. Look at this. This is great. I tell you, the cables are getting better and better on electric vehicle charging equipment. When I used to test them a couple of years ago, they'd be like frozen garden hoses where there'd be a bear to deal with. I think the manufacturers didn't even realize that that was an issue, but now they do, maybe because of my testing. But this is great. This is an awesome performing cable. So let me hang this up over here. You can see how easy it would be to unplug your car and then loop this around the connector holster, even when it's really frozen. You can see all the frost falling off the cable. So this is great. This is going to get a great score in cold weather testing for the cable pliability test. Now we're going to do the connector drop test, where I drop the connector 5 times. It's good and frozen. I mentioned earlier I don't love this Volex connector. It's not bad. It's definitely not the worst connector, but it's not the top of my list either. So let's drop this guy. that was a good one. All right, 5 drops. Handled it just fine. There isn't even any marks on it. Sometimes there's scratch marks. It looks like it's in good shape. So it passes both the cable pliability test, and it's going to get actually a good score with that, and it passes the connector drop test. Now that the unit is still cold and all iced up, I'm going to pull one of my electric vehicles in the garage, plug it in, and make sure that it power ups and works while it's nice and cold before it warms up. All right, I have a Porsche Macan on loan, so let's see how well this guy works. Plugged in, got the solid green light, which happens first. Now this should start blinking, and it started blinking. You can see the green light here is blinking. So cold weather power up test works. So the Emporia Pro passed all 3 of the cold weather testing. Like the original Emporia Classic, the Emporia Pro is a Wi-Fi connected smart charger that you can use with the Emporia app. You currently can't connect it to a third-party app, so it's going to lose some points in the ChargerRater for that. But the Emporia app is actually one of the better apps on the market, and that's probably because Emporia doesn't just sell electric vehicle chargers. It has a whole ecosystem of energy monitoring and saving devices that you can pair with the charger. So it's important that they have a robust app to be able to connect all these different features and to be able to use the different products that they have. I've been using it for a couple of years now for the previous Emporia chargers that I've gotten. And if you have Emporia products, adding another charger is really simple. You can just add it really quickly. You don't have to, you already have the app. I've known with some other chargers, you can't have more than one charger listed on the app. You have to create a whole nother account. It's not the case with the Emporia. You can have multiple chargers on the same app. But the Emporia app, when you first connect it to your charger, the first thing that it's going to ask you to do is to set a power limit. And that's because there is no internal dip switch on the unit. You can't set a maximum current inside the unit, and I don't like that. And some electrical inspectors don't like that either. You can only set the limit within the Emporia app. Now you do have to enter a passcode or create a passcode, a 4-digit number, so that somebody can't open up your app and then just raise the limit of the current without you knowing it, or that you can't even do it by mistake. You have to enter a passcode. So that is a level of security, but I prefer when the chargers have an internal dip switch that you set a max current. See, for instance, this is a 48 amp charger, but since I got it with the NEMA 1450 outlet, the maximum current I can pass through this NEMA 1450 outlet is 40 amps. It's 80% of what the rated circuit is. It's a 50 amp circuit. So the most you can do for a continuous load is 80% of that. So I'm limited to 40 amps with this unit. So when I hooked it up to the app, I had to set or tell the app that I'm on a 50 amp circuit. So then it knows, okay, I'll only deliver 48 amps. But if somebody sets that incorrectly, there you can have a problem and overdraw your circuit. Some of the chargers have a high-end limit inside, a dip switch or some type of a switch that says, okay, this is on a NEMA 1450, it's on a 50 amp circuit, 40 amps is the most it can deliver. But then when you open the app, you can lower the amperage. You could say, oh, you know what, tonight I just want to charge at 20 amps or whatever, but you could never set it higher than 40 amps. The way the Emporia app works is when you do the initial installation, you can, if you say that this is on a 48 amp or 60 amp circuit, you can then overdraw, or somebody can go in enter your passcode, or if you do it, you can enter the passcode and you could say, you know what, it won't hurt if I charge a little bit faster tonight. I'm in a rush. I need to get the thing charged. I know people do this and raise it up to 48 amps. They say, well, it's on a 50 amp outlet. I should be able to charge at 48 amps. That's against code and you could have a problem. So that's one miss for the Emporia Pro. But when you download the app, when you connect it, that's the first thing it asks you to do. Then the next thing that you do, you come to the home screen and you decide whether or not you want to limit access. It has access control. The way the unit is set up is that it's ready to go, plug in charge. It's once the unit is energized, you can just charge an electric vehicle. If you're in a private garage like I am here, that's how you want it to be. You don't want to have to limit the access. But people install these outside their home. In garage, you live in an apartment, you get permission to install it in the apartment's garage, and you don't want somebody rolling up during the day and just plugging in and using your electricity. So the app lets you turn off access. Really simply, as soon as you open up on the home screen, you could turn it off, turn it on. I did it a few times. I tested it with the car. It won't deliver power when you have it turned off. It also has a history calendar that you can look at and see all your past charging sessions, and it lets you view your charging sessions in either monetary, so you could say each day this is what I charged every day it cost me, or in power, and it'll show how many kilowatt hour your charger delivered to the vehicle that day. You also can set schedules from with that. If you have a time of use plan and your electricity provider and you want to have less expensive electricity by charging at night, that's where you set that up in the schedule area. There's also energy management section, and in there you can also set things like your solar connection. The Emporia, like the Emporia Pro, like the Emporia Classic, will allow you to charge exclusively from excess solar generation. If you have a solar system at your house, you could set it so that the house gets priority, it gets all the electric it needs, but then whatever excess the house isn't using that the system is providing, that's what charges your car. I know a lot of people that do this. They have their car plugged in all day, and the system will intelligently send excess solar to their car so that they're using all their solar generation. They're not sending any of it back to the grid. So that's a really good feature that the Emporia, both the Emporia Pro and Emporia Classic have. And you could also enter your zip code in the app, and it'll tell you if there's any discount utility plans or any type of utility discount. Sometimes utilities have these programs where if you give them access to view your current charging schedules or whatever, they give you a super cheap rate. All the utilities across the country have all different types of EV special programs. And through the Emporia app, you can find out if you qualify for any just by putting in your zip code, and it tells you if there's anything available in your area. Unfortunately, here in northern New Jersey, where I live, there are no current incentives, so I can't take advantage of that. And you could also view the other Emporia products that you might want to purchase and pair with the Emporia Pro charger. There's also a section for that in the app, so you can see what other energy management and energy savings devices that Emporia has. And that's really one of the things that I've always loved about Emporia, is that, as I mentioned earlier, they have an entire ecosystem of home energy management and savings devices. It's not just the charger, but everything works together. You can pair just about everything with the charger and save some money at home. I know people that just by being more efficient in their home and getting energy management devices, they saved more electricity than what their EV charging cost them. So they're basically driving for free now because they saved more kilowatt hour every month than what their electric vehicle consumes. Okay, so I've been using the Emporia Pro for about 2 weeks now to charge my Ford F-150 Lightning, my Rivian R1S, my Chevrolet Equinox EV, and also the Porsche Macan that I had on loan for a while there. And it worked flawlessly. No glitches, no issues. The 25-foot long cable is great. It stretches across the whole garage. You could pretty much reach any charge port on any vehicle. Even if you have a big, long vehicle like a Ford F-150 Lightning, this long cable will reach any area of wherever the charge port's located. It's also, as you saw in the cold weather testing, very flexible, very thin too. I measured this to be 14.3 millimeter. So it's one of the thinnest cables that you can get on the market. I mentioned earlier, I don't love this connector. It's a fine serviceable connector, but there are better connectors on the market. There's ones that just have a better rubberized feel in your hand, a rubberized grip. The locking tabs are metal on some of the other ones. This is plastic. It doesn't feel like it's going to be very high quality and be able to withstand a couple of drops directly on that, which didn't happen when I did the drop test. It's a fine serviceable connector, but it's definitely not one of the better ones on the market. It's not one of the worst ones either. The connector holster, on the other hand, it's not terrible, but Emporia could do better than this. I also criticized their first generation connector holster, and they improved it. It's better than the first one, but it's not that great. One of the things I do like about it, though, is that the opening here isn't the exact size of the connector. Some of these connector holsters, the tolerance is like half a millimeter, and you have to be perfect to put it in, or you can't get it to lock in. This has some play, so it's not hard to connector this. You can almost always just holster it without a problem. And it locks in nicely. If you watched my EvoCharge review that I did a couple weeks ago, their connector holster, it was terrible. Like every time you pushed it in, half the times the connector fell out. This one locks in nice, and it has this tab on the top so that you can loop your cable around on it. It's still not a great connector holster. I don't love when you have to go straight in like this. The connector sticks out over a foot off the wall. I prefer the connector holsters. This could just be personal, but hey, it's my review. I prefer when you go up like this into the connector holster rather than straight in, because then it really sticks out far off the wall. When you lock the connector holster in like this, you could see this is only about 9-10 inches off the wall. When I stick this out here, the cable extends at the furthest part. It's probably like 20 inches off the wall. So then, you know, if you're in a tight spot in your garage, you've got to walk by and this thing gets in your way. So it's not going to get a great score for the connector holster. Not a terrible score, but not a great score. The unit itself is available in black or white. It's not available with the NACS connector yet. It's only available with J1772, so that's a miss. A lot of people today are asking me for NACS connectors because they're saying, you know what, Tom, I drive a J1772 EV now, but my next EV is definitely going to have a NACS, and I'd rather get a charger now so I don't have to use adapters in the future. I'll use an adapter for the next year or so. The Emporia told me by the end of the year, the NACS option is going to be available. It also doesn't power share between units, but they said that it will in about a month, and that the older units will be able to do that through an over-the-air update. So while it's not going to get points for power sharing on the ChargerRater, because it currently can't, supposedly in about a month, if you buy one now, it will have that feature. And power sharing allows you to have just one circuit come to the garage and have two of these units. So if you have two electric vehicles, you only have to pull one, say 60 amp circuit to the garage, and you can have two of the units set up, and they will intelligently balance power so you can charge two electric vehicles at once. Since we're talking about power balancing, the biggest feature of this unit is the intelligent load management. And that's different than power sharing. Power sharing means the unit can share one circuit between multiple units. The load management is a feature that very few electric vehicle chargers can do today. And that allows you to install this even if your house doesn't have the capacity to add another 60 amp circuit. If you have a 100 amp service or 150 amp service, chances are you can't install a dedicated 60 amp circuit to your garage because you'll be over the load calculation of what your house is supposed to be able to deliver at any given time, even though most houses never hit their limit because you don't have everything on at once. The way the code is written, the way inspectors are going to look at it is if you have a certain amount of devices, they're going to say no more. You can't put in a 60 amp circuit. But with the PowerSmart system, you can. Now, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to review that because I have a 400 amp service at my house, much more than what most people have. I upgraded from a 150 amp service that I had when I bought the house to the 400 amp service because of what I do, because I have a 100 amp charger here, a 60 amp circuit here, 250 amp circuits here, just in the garage, let alone a lot of devices in the house. So even if I were to install the View system, we wouldn't really be able to review it because I could never hit my home's capacity. It would never lower the charging output of the charger because my home was using too much electricity. There's no way I could reach that 400 amps. So I'll just explain how it works. So let's say you have a 100 amp service in your house and your panel can only add another 20 amps. Because you'll be overloading, you'll be over your capacity. When you install this charger and you install the View system with PowerSmart, you set a low limit of 20 amps. Your house, even if everything's being used, can still have 20 more amps of available capacity. So that's the low limit for the Emporia. So now everything's installed, you plug in, you're charging overnight. The charger is going to be able to charge at its full capacity because you don't have everything on in the house. But let's say one day you're charging during the day and you've got central air on, you've got an electric range, you've got a hot tub out back and that's running and that uses a lot of electricity, or a pool pump, and your home is getting close to its limit of the amount of electricity that your 100 amp service can provide, and you plug your car in. It's not going to charge at the full 48 amps. It's going to lower its output to as much output as it can safely deliver without overloading the home's service, with the low point of the minimum that it can deliver without overloading the home, even if everything else was running. So you'll still, at the worst, charge at 20 amps. But then, you're done cooking, so you turn the electric range off. This thing jumps up and starts charging at full power again. So this is a fantastic feature that few electric vehicles have. This is a big problem in the industry. Many people don't live in a home that can add a 60 amp dedicated circuit for a 48 amp charger, which is kind of the norm today, is 48 amp chargers. Most electric vehicles can charge at 48 amps. So they either have to have an expensive service upgrade, which costs thousands of dollars. There are other devices. I did a video recently on the connector, which is a meter socket collar that goes around your meter and allows you to install a charger, but that costs money also. This Emporia Pro with View with PowerSmart, the whole package is $600. You get the charger and that for $600. That's a fantastic deal. And that's the best feature for the Emporia Pro. It's really the feature that distinguishes it from Emporia's classic charger, which is a great charger in itself, but it doesn't have that feature to be able to intelligently manage the load of your home. So, I mean, that's the difference in the chargers. The classic one's a great deal. It's $429. If you don't need intelligent load management in your house, I'll tell you to get the classic charger because it's $170 less and you don't need that feature. It does pretty much everything else that the Pro does. And it's been on my top chargers list for the last few years. This is going to make it to my top chargers list also because this feature that it has, for only $599, you get a fantastic charger and the ability to intelligently manage the load in your house. That's really a great deal. This is going to be one of the highest rated chargers that we have here because the Emporias, first of all, are fantastic rated, they're fantastically built chargers, high quality. I love the new look of this one. It's super compact. It only comes off the wall a couple inches. Looks nice. It comes in two colors. So, this unit is a really good unit, and it's going to be at the top of my charger recommendation list if you need intelligent load management. If you don't, go for the Emporia Classic. It's a fantastic deal, currently at $429. You can't beat it for that price. It's really a super value. Okay, well, that's it for the review. Top scoring for the Emporia Pro. It's an absolutely great deal. It does so many different features between the intelligent load management, the solar charging. It's got a great app, nice long cable, super cold weather performance. The cable is fantastic in cold weather. You know, the connector, the holster isn't the best, but they're serviceable. They're not that bad. So really good unit. Well, now let's see how it does in the ChargerRater. And don't forget, I mentioned this in my last video. I completely revamped the ChargerRater because the chargers have been getting better and better over the last few years. And chargers that would have, you know, the average score would have been in the 80s a couple of years ago. Now they were all getting up into the 90s. So I completely redid the scoring on the ChargerRater. It's much harder now and the scores are lower. So we'll see how the Emporia Pro does. The Emporia Classic last year scored, I think, a 99 on my ChargerRater, which was the tie for the highest score we had ever given. This isn't going to get a score that high, but it doesn't mean that it's not a better unit than the other one. I'm going to have to go back and rescore some of the old chargers that I scored, so the comparison on the ChargerRater is fair. But I had to do this because features like solar charging and intelligent load management and even power sharing weren't available just a couple of years ago when I first developed the ChargerRater. All right, with that said, let's see just how well the Emporia Pro does on the ChargerRater. Okay, for the cost and value category, it gets no points because it is equal or less than $600. For warranty, it gets 3 points for a 3-year warranty. And for value, it's going to get 2 points and get our highest score here of excellent. I very rarely give an excellent score for the value category, but what this unit does and the fact that it includes the Emporia View system to allow intelligent load management, it's an excellent value at $599. So it finishes the cost and value category with 20 points. Okay, for the power and construction category, we start off with max charging power. It delivers 48 amps, so it gets no points for that. For adjustable power, it's going to get 1 point because you can only adjust the power in the app, not through the internal dip switch also, so it's only going to get 1 point there. Cable length, it gets 2 points for a 23-foot cable. For connector, it's going to get 3 points out of 5. For connector holster, I'm also going to give it 3 points out of 5. I feel that both the connector and the holster are average. So it finishes the power and construction category with 24 points. Next up, the testing category. For the extreme cold testing, it's going to get 4 points out of 5, an excellent score. For extreme heat, it gets no points because it had no issue. For automatic restart, it gets 1 point. It passed that test. For safety certified, it is. You don't get any extra points for safety certified. For Energy Star rating, it's going to get 1 point because the unit is Energy Star certified. It finishes up the testing category with 21 points. Okay, for intelligence, it is a smart charger with an app. It gets 2 points. It is not power share capable currently, so it's going to get no points there, although Emporia has told me starting in June, the units will be power share capable and the existing units will be through an OTA. So if you buy one now, you'll get that power share capability in about a month. For intelligent load management, yes, it does, so it's going to get 3 points. For solar charging, yes, it can. And for solar charging, it's going to get 2 points because you can set it up to charge your vehicle exclusively from excess solar generation. For access control, it's going to get 1 point because you can limit access through the app. For OCP standardization, you can only use the native Emporia app, so it's going to lose 2 points there. And finish up the intelligence category with 21 points. And that gives the Emporia Pro a grand total of 86 points on our ChargerRater, the highest score so far with the new ChargerRater rating system. And when I take those 86 points and convert them to a 5-star rating, the Emporia Pro gets 4.3 stars out of 5. An excellent score considering that I just made the ChargerRater a lot harder. I don't think too many chargers are going to get a higher score than that. My personal opinion on this, I would give it like a 4.5 stars out of 5, honestly, because it's that good of a unit. It's one of the best units and one of the best values that you can buy today. You can't go wrong with the Emporia Pro. But again, if you don't need that intelligent load management feature, the Emporia Classic is a fantastic deal and it's $170 less. So that's something that you should consider, but you can't go wrong with either of the Emporia products. They both work with Emporia's ecosystem of energy management devices. They're solid units, and that's why both of them make it into my best chargers of the year every single year. Okay, so all that's left now is to look at the Emporia Pro's hits and misses. Okay, we'll start off with the hits. Obviously, its biggest hit is its ability to intelligently manage the load in your house, allowing you to install this in a home that otherwise wouldn't allow you to install a high-powered charger. Secondly, it has a great cable, a thin, flexible cable that did really well in our cold weather testing. And it also allows solar charging. There's not a lot of electric vehicle chargers out there that allow you to exclusively charge from your excess solar generation. Okay, for the misses, it has no physical power limit switch, and that's the switch I was talking about inside the unit, where you could put a hard limit on how much the power puts out. Next up, I'm going to say the connector and the holster. They're not terrible, but there's better options out there. And honestly, the Emporia Pro does everything so well. I'm nitpicking here with the misses. And then finally, the fact that it doesn't have a NACS connector option currently. Emporia has told me they're probably going to have that before the end of the year. But it's a shame that right at the launch, the unit isn't available with both J1772 and NACS connector options. You can only get it with J1772 today. All right, well, that's all we have here today for the Emporia Pro review. If you're still hanging around, you must be a charger geek like me, because I think we're probably over 45 minutes at this point. I do these thorough reviews for the people that are really interested in every little detail about the chargers, but I also started offering my quick charge reviews. And with those reviews, I take the long form review that you just watched and I compress it down to 10 minutes or less. And I usually post that video a week or two after the original video went up. So that video is going to be available in 2 weeks probably from the launch of this video. So I guess if you've been hanging around till now, you probably watched the whole thing. You don't need to watch the quick charge video. You don't get anything new in that. I just kind of compress it down so people that don't want to watch a long review like this can get all the key details in 10 minutes or less. Well, listen, if this is your first time here at State of Charge, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any upcoming electric vehicle news and reviews. And as always, thanks for watching.